Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. I am your host, Sean, and I know what you're thinking. I just did a big video last night on Nusayr Mazraoui, right? And now I'm back the very next morning. What gives? What can I say? I just miss interacting with you guys. Maybe that's what's going on, right? But in any case, I'm back again. Wanted to give my thoughts on a few things that have been popping up this week regarding Manchester United. But most importantly, as always, wanted to get your thoughts on some of this. So as we're discussing it, as I'm bringing it up, just let me know your thoughts in the live chat. Let me know your thoughts in the comments after the video. Before we do get stuck in, though, on just the latest and greatest as far as Manchester United is concerned, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. And go check me out on Twitter, MUFC versus everybody. So let's get stuck in on the latest news on Manchester United. So obviously yesterday, a lot of those links popped up regarding Bayern Munich right back Nusayr Mazraoui. I did that deep dive video yesterday, on his numbers, his player profile, and more importantly, I think his injury record. So if you haven't yet gone and watched that video on a player that we've been linked with recently, Nusayr Mazraoui, go ahead and check that out when the stream ends. Obviously, don't want to leave in the middle of the stream, but go check that out if you want to learn a little bit more, and then you can let me know in the comments on that video what your thoughts are. So check that one out. But today, some of the big news that has been popping up this week is PSG, particularly PSG, being interested in Jadon Sancho. Sky Sports reported yesterday that PSG are interested in Jadon Sancho, and the report claims that they're apparently close to agreeing personal terms with Sancho. So obviously, United and PSG have been in discussions recently regarding Manuel Ugarte. Sounds like everything is pretty close to kind of taking the next steps as far as that move is concerned. But this is what happens sometimes when clubs are in discussions. Like we just talked about yesterday, United have been talking to Bayern Munich about Matthias de Ligt. Somebody that popped up in those conversations was Nusayr Mazraoui. Kind of like the same thing. We're talking to PSG about Ugarte, figuring everything out, and then somebody throws out, well, what's going on with Jadon Sancho? And that's what happens. I mean, it's very, very common. I mentioned long time ago, how I think PSG could be a good spot for Jadon Sancho. Maybe we can figure out a way to work all that out with the Ugarte deal, and lo and behold, here it comes. So, of course, remember the news that popped up the other day. Jadon Sancho and Erik ten Hag seem to have buried the hatchet. They had some behind closed doors discussions. It sounds like, they've drawn a line under everything and they've moved on. Whether that means anybody apologized or whatever, no one knows. I don't think anyone cares at this point. Sancho featured, he started against Rangers recently. And I did wonder, if this was maybe a bit of a shop window situation for Sancho. Everybody agreed maybe it's better to just move on, play, and if you want to move and if someone gets interested, then this is the opportunity to do that. Who knows? Anyway, PSG are reportedly interested in him. And remember, like I said, I did bring that up as an option recently. Betting sites, so Bet365, for instance, also have PSG as the favorites for Sancho, even ahead of Manchester United. I think it was like 11 to 10 or 10 to 11 odds on that, and it was like 8 to 1 that he stays at United. L'Equipe in France, so L'Equipe's a French outlet, they're also claiming that Luis Enrique, the manager of PSG, is a big fan of Sancho. Obviously, PSG and Dortmund featured heavily in Champions League last season. Sancho got all the way to the final with Dortmund. And so it sounds like, according to the reports anyway, that Luis Enrique is a big fan. Sky is also claiming that an unnamed Premier League club are interested as well. So whoever that could be, who knows? Maybe it's Aston Villa. I know Mo Diaby is on his way to the Saudi League, I think. That seems like a strange move to me. He was very, very good at Leverkusen, rejoined his former teammate at Aston Villa, and I mean, it just didn't really work out. But who knows? Aston Villa are making moves. How Unai Emery and Villa will be able to balance Europe this season is yet to be seen. Newcastle struggled a little bit, so who knows if they have the depth, if they have the quality to do that. But it's a boost for them, and so we'll see what happens there. But in any case, back to Sancho. So again, Sky's claiming that an unnamed Premier League club are interested. TBR, another outlet, is reporting that United aren't actively looking to sell Sancho, though. So who knows what to think. What do you guys think? Would you keep Sancho? Would you want to sell Sancho? If you sold him, how much would you expect us to demand for him? Where do you see Sancho lining up in a United shirt next season? I don't know. Thoughts of yours? I wouldn't have a problem selling him, but like I said in my video covering the news that he and Ten Hag had kind of worked things out, I said, fit and firing Sancho that we saw at Dortmund before we bought him is not a bad thing at all for United. So he looked decent against Rangers against preseason, so I'm not going to read too much into it. But a fit and firing Sancho who's getting his head down, who's working hard, and who's performing on the pitch is only good for us. The question is just whether or not we get that, because we haven't really gotten that as consistently as I think we would all have hoped at United. He's been here several seasons now. Obviously, we chased him for a year, big money signing, and it just hasn't quite transitioned to his former United shirt. So patience is running thin for a lot of the fan base. My patience is running thin. I can't say to Anthony, I'll give him a year or so and then kind of say, okay, he's done, but then turn around and not hold Sancho to that same standard. Sancho's been here longer. He's supposedly, the better player. They cost roughly the same, but that's not their fault. So if we haven't seen it, it could just be another one of those things where the league itself is just not a good fit for Sancho. Just the physicality involved, the work involved. I don't know. But let me know your thoughts. That's why I'm here, right? There were also some reports coming out yesterday from Sky Sports that United were looking to hijack AC Milan's deal for Yusuf Fofana. Ali says, get rid of those rappers. He's talking about Sancho. Man, Ali, can I ask you a personal question, Ali? You don't have to answer, but how old are you? I know some people, like I'm almost 40, so my preferences when it comes to players and things might be a little different than someone who's a little younger, probably a little different than someone who's a little older. I'm always curious because the different generations in the fan base have very differing opinions when it comes to these kind of things. You're 31, so yeah, I mean, again, it's like it sounds like you're like, yo, do it on the pitch. I don't need all this extra noise going on off the pitch. Just get it done. You're a footballer first and foremost. I don't care what kind of car you're driving. I don't care what kind of parties you're going to, what you're doing. Does Sancho rap? I know Lukaku had some rap stuff doing. Didn't Memphis Depay have a rap video or something a while back too? It's interesting. But yeah, in any case, good to see you, Ali. Great to have you back, bud. So again, reports coming out from Sky Sports that we're looking to hijack AC Milan's move for Yusuf Fofana. I don't know how much I'm buying this one personally. I know we were linked with him late last season, right? And I did highlight Yusuf Fofana in my wild card and bargain signings video. If you remember, go back and check that video out if you haven't yet. Because he's entering the final year of his contract, he's a very good midfielder at the time. I think he was, 24, 25. And so he can be a bargain. So go check that out. Again, he's entering the final year of his contract. A lot of clubs are probably looking to get a deal done for that guy. Gazzetta dello Sport, so they're an Italian outlet. They are adamant, though, that Milan are looking to finalize that deal like by the end of the week, basically. There are reports that the personal terms on a 4-year contract with Milan have already been agreed. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean it's done and dusted. So we'll see what happens. Again, I'm not super confident. I know United are kind of linked with a lot of midfielders right now, and as Ali says, Zubimende, Olmo, Ali only wants Spanish and French players. They are serial winners. Yeah, it's nice. It would be kind of nice to get Zubimende, right? Obviously, we've been some fresh links today from TalkSport saying that he's on our list. He's got that 50 million release clause. That's probably a little more than I would want us to pay for Zubimende, especially because the release clause means you have to pay all of that up front, and we just don't have that money. So I think that we could, if we were interested in Zubimende, I think we could get a deal done for less than the 50 million personally, but we will see how that goes. We're linked with a lot of midfielders right now. Ugarte, Olmo, Simmons, Fofana, Zubimende, Rabiot. We're linked with pretty much any midfielder that's popped up this summer we've been linked with. Ali said, look at Madrid, fam. French and Spanish. Yeah, French and Spanish. Toni Kroos, German. Luka Modric, Croatian. Valverde, Uruguayan. I mean, tons of French, tons of Spanish players over there at Madrid. I'm Bellingham, obviously English. So right now they're French midfield. They've got Tchouameni, Camavinga, and then that's pretty much it, right? Let me know. I'm not a Madrid fan, obviously, but my buddy is, and so I watch probably more Madrid than I pretty should. KD, good morning, bud. How you doing, my guy? Ally says, get rid of Scott Casemiro. We'll see. I think we're trying to get rid of Casemiro again. It's those wages are tough to get to move. Saudi is probably the best bet for Casemiro in terms of teams and clubs who could take on those wages. It's just, the pressure's kind of on us. We stupidly signed Casemiro for a lot of money. We signed him on a long deal. We pay him a lot of money, and his decline last year was a bit shocking. And so I think that not this past summer, the summer before is probably the best peak time to maybe get the most for him. But I think we missed that window. But we'll see. There's a lot of the summer window left to go. I do think, though, we need to sell some more players to make some moves. But we'll see what goes on here. Allies wonders, what does Eriksen really offer? 2 week, my mom can take a ball from him. On the ball, Eriksen is brilliant. But again, off the ball, and my thoughts on this have, if you've watched the channel for a while, off the ball, he's a liability. He's basically, in that red shirt, he's basically a red carpet for the opposition, especially on a counterattack. He can't tackle. He gets bullied too quickly. But on the ball, he's superb. You're not going to face too many teams in the Premier League anymore now where you're going to get the time and the space on the ball that really allows Eriksen to shine. A lot of teams now are pressing, they're counter pressing. We're facing a lot of pressure, and where Eriksen is tended to play United, so is one of the players in the pivot. That's a delicate area of the pitch to face that kind of pressure when you're not a very strong player, when you're not very, defensively sound. You don't want to lose the ball in those situations. It's kind of like Fred. I love Fred to death, but the guy is just not good in that area of the pitch. It's just the truth. It is what it is. Allies trying to get rid of everybody. Fire sale United for Allies. So back to Fofana. We'll see what happens there. Do you like Fofana? I think he could be a good deal. Again, entering the final year of his contract, a good age, good experience. We need some balance. We already kind of swooped in when Milan were looking at Xerxes, so we have a precedent for being able to kind of swoop in when we can kind of sniff blood in the water in that regard. Is Fofana better than Adrian Rabiot? Is he better than Manuel Ugarte? Again, we got those fresh Zubamendi reports. Would you take him over Zubamendi? Who do you guys want in midfield, bro? Ally says he's a baller. Fofana is a baller. He's all over the pitch, right? He's just getting involved, winning the ball back, chasing people down. I like that about him. He's very physical. He reminds me of who am I thinking of off the top of my head? A little bit of N'Golo Kante in the way he chases people down, but he's a little better on the ball, in my opinion, than N'Golo Kante. And he's physically, he's a specimen too. Ally says, yeah, him and Zubamendi Fofana and Zubamendi in midfield will be a force to be reckoned with, right? I think that Zubamendi, what he offers on the ball is superb. What Fofana can do, I think they're very good. I think they both have enough on and off the ball contributions to make a really well-rounded double pivot. But we'll see what happens there. But again, the report is that we are maybe looking to hijack that deal after we were already linked with him a few months ago. So let me know your thoughts. Let's switch focus a little bit to strikers. I don't know why, because I'm not really quite sure if I'm buying these rumors. But Dan Sheldon, who covers both Manchester clubs for The Athletic, he claims that both Ivan Toney and Dominic Calvert-Lewin are being discussed internally at United right now. So obviously we bought Rasmus Højlund last summer. We bought Joshua Zirkzee earlier this summer, a couple weeks ago actually, and now apparently we're discussing someone like Toney and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. There was a recent report too that due to a lack of interest, Brentford have actually generously lowered their asking price for Ivan Toney to £50 million. That's very generous of them to lower it for £50 million. A guy who missed so much football, hasn't really featured a lot in the Euros, and I mean, before he got to suspension, his ban, he was great, Ivan Toney. But I mean, he's 27, 28 now. Obviously offers experience, but I'm not paying $50 million for Ivan Toney. It's not. I mean, do we really need to discuss this rumor at all? Is it really a thing? Let me know what you guys think. Ally says, I'm glad Amrabat is gone. Yeah, we'll see on Amrabat. There was reports still linking us with interest. Again, I think we kind of let that run down because if we go back in for Amrabat, let's say, I don't think we were going to want to pay 20 million. I think we probably thought we could get him for less. So we'll see. I wouldn't write off the Amrabat thing yet, but we'll see what happens there. Ally says both trash. Give me Ollie Watkins. He likes Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins is a little different, I think, profile to what we've seen. Ollie Watkins, the way he plays, the profile of striker he is. He's that quick, powerful kind of counterattack guy. He is the way I think we should be using Rasmus Højlund. If you watched any of Rasmus Højlund when he was at Atalanta, he was very fast, very played on the shoulder, like get in behind defenders. He's not this big hold. He's big, but that's not the way he plays. He's not this hold up striker. It can be a little bit misleading because he is so good with his one touch and his link up play on a counterattack, but he's fast. We need to utilize his speed a little bit more. We need to take the training wheels off of Andre Onana's distribution, and we need to be playing a bit more counterattack when the opportunity is there. I'm talking like when we're defending set pieces, free kicks, and Onana grabs the ball, we're able to do that. Launch the counter when it's on. Send Rashford, send Garnacho, send Højlund, send them up the pitch, and let them cook. I think that there are opportunities where we've done that, or we've had opportunities to do that, and we just haven't utilized them. And we've seen that Onana can put that ball on a dime when he wants to. Like, we've seen it many times. I think I would like to see us do that a little bit more, play Rasmus Højlund a little bit. But that's how I see Ollie Watkins personally. KD says Amrabat would be a very, very, very good squad addition. For cheap, I think so. I worry a little bit about his physicality against the press, because we saw him late last season when he started to feature. And to his credit, he looked really good in some matches. I think there were moments in those matches, though, where his shakiness, his maybe underestimating the physicality of the league. Like I said, a lot of teams are pressing right now. They're not giving anybody time on the ball. And so we've seen him kind of get caught on the ball a little bit and lose possession, maybe play a stupid pass. I remember he played that ball to Casemiro. It was just a bad pass, and it allowed the other team to get in. If like Fofana, like Amrabat's not the midfield destroyer. He's a ball progressor, but I think, because he didn't really play a whole lot last season, I think that he didn't really have time to get up to speed to the physicality. But who knows? He's not bad at all, and he's better than I think he looked last season. But we'll see what happens with the midfield. Adebe Deliso, did I say that right? Adebe? United, I want you to Ugarte, De Ligt, Mizraoui, Richard Rios, Danny Olmo. United is better for next season. He just wants everybody. Ali says he's the reason Villa are in Champions League. Fact, yeah, he had a really good season last year. I think Emery obviously had a lot to do with that as well, personally. But yeah, Watkins had a really good season. Douglas Luiz, obviously a very good player for them as well. Villa, I think if Villa want to have a chance in the Champions League, they really do need to strengthen a bit more in terms of quality. I think their fullbacks could probably improve a little bit. And I think that at center back, they could probably improve. I know they just picked up Amadou Onana, so that's kind of a big coup for them as well. Probably means Branthwaite's off the table because Everton really don't need money. I know that they lost their new ownership bid, but selling Onana is kind of big for them. So that improves the midfield. I think wasn't Douglas Luiz going to go to Juventus too, so that helps. And I do think that, they could do something in Europe as well. But yeah, you're right. Watkins is a big deal. He had a really good season last year. But like I said, kind of like Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney had a really good season 2 seasons ago. And then last season, obviously, he missed a lot of football, but he wasn't that great. You can have really good seasons and peak. And I think that Watkins needs to show that now to be considered. I mean, because he's already older, right? To be considered, maybe by these bigger clubs. I think I'd like to see what Watkins can do on a bigger scale when Villa are competing on multiple fronts, when they're kind of defending. They've kind of set new expectations for them. They've got this coach pedigree and Unai Emery. They're performing now. We need to see what they can do now that the pressure is on. But Watkins is a very good striker. I know a lot of people are big fans of Ollie Watkins. Vibes, welcome back, dude. Good morning. KD Smith. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate the support, KD. You're always showing the love, man. Ally says they will finish 8th. He's talking about Villa. I don't want a gambler in my club. I'm always trying to get at rappers. Allies, he's got high standards. Yeah, I know it's with Ivan Toney. Everyone's going to be talking about the gambling thing. I think we've seen a lot of footballers get done for this. Daniel Sturridge got done for this, obviously. Names off the top of my list now. Who's the midfielder that Newcastle picked up? I know who he is. It's like on the tip of my tongue. I'm having a brain fart. Oh, the Italian dude. Oh, somebody will let me know in the chat. He got done for gambling now. So as a mental health professional, like, obviously I'm very empathetic towards people who are struggling with mental health. I think we need to destigmatize it in sports and in football, and I'm glad that it's starting to be a bit more destigmatized. However, as a mental health professional, I also know how many people fake things and use things as excuses. And I'm not saying that is happening. I'm saying we need to just be aware of that sometimes. It's easy to claim you have a gambling addiction after you get caught. So we'll see how it goes. Keep in mind that any of these mental health diagnoses have criteria that have to be met. So nothing I say is to be taken as professional advice, though. I'm just speaking from experience, both firsthand and then obviously things that I've learned. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I don't think Ivan Toney has an attitude problem like some people say. I do think he has a discernment issue. Maybe he's surrounding himself with the wrong people. Maybe he's just not, making wise choices. Who knows? There's a lot of reasons, but it seems like he's cleaned up his act a little bit. Obviously, he went to the Euros. He didn't feature as much as a lot of people probably would have liked, but it is what it is. Let's move on a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about Dan Ashworth. So obviously somebody brought it up yesterday. He had released kind of this column for United's yearbook, kind of his first direct address to Man United fan base. And I read through it, wanted to highlight a few of the big talking points there. So, oops, sorry, had the wrong thing going on. So actually, let's wrap up some of these other little transfer rumors before I get into that one real quick, because I had them on the wrong slide. So there are a few little tidbits regarding some of the players that we have been linked with. That's Jeremy Frimpong and Dani Olmo, mostly just because both of their release clauses expired. So obviously Olmo's release clause was extended. We were linked with Olmo. I did that video comparing him and Xavi Simons. If you haven't yet gone and watched that, go do that. And then Jeremy Frimpong, who we've been linked with for a little while, had that release clause. It's interesting that nobody activated these release clauses, especially Frimpong. Frimpong is very, very, very good. His release clause was very, very, very low. But again, there's so much moving parts involved with the transfer. Yeah, someone can have a release clause, and at the end of the day, a club can have no say if someone wants to activate that. But it is up to the player at that point. Maybe the players don't want to move. Maybe clubs, like maybe with Amrabat, like finalizing that loan to buy, we thought maybe we can get a better deal. Who knows? I do think that you probably get Olmo for lower. I'm surprised at the Frimpong one because he is very, very good. But who knows what's going to happen there. So let me know your thoughts on Frimpong, Dani Olmo. What do you think is going to happen now that their release clauses have expired and clubs pretty much have to negotiate with Leipzig and Leverkusen, respectively? I would find it hard to think that Frimpong is going to leave because the way Leverkusen have done so well last season and now where they're at in Europe and everything, I think that he has a chance to really do something under Xabi Alonso, but we'll see. But on Ashworth and some of his comments, so he talks about spending a lot of time in Manchester when he was younger. His parents and his grandparents obviously grew up around Middleton and everything, so he spent a lot of time there. His dad took him to a lot of United matches back in the 70s, so he's been a fan since then. He said in his quotes, our first big decision of the summer was to extend Erik ten Hag's contract as men's first team manager to June 2026, reflecting our strong belief in him as one of Europe's top coaches and the partner we want to continue working with to get the team back to the levels expected. So, and some of the reports came out early this morning too that extending ten Hag's contract was already kind of in place before Ashworth arrived. Ashworth, that was just kind of his first, to-do item on the list when he came in, is to go ahead and get that finalized. Ashworth continues to say there are also changes to the physical environment at Carrington as work commences on our season-long 50 million redevelopment of the training ground, evidence of our commitment to improving the club's infrastructure. So a lot of people, they want signings, they want, players in, players out, but it's not just the poor recruitment at United that's been an issue. If you look at the entire infrastructure, like Carrington hasn't been changed in like 20 years. The stadium obviously has not been touched other than a few fresh coats of paint. All that stuff has just been completely neglected. And so Ineos have come in and seen how a lot of that plays into it. Ally, what's that Colombian midfielder we were going for? Palmeiras? Oh, you're talking about Richard Rios. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that rumor. I can talk about that in a little bit, though. Let me finish up on Ashworth, and I'll jump into that. We talked a little bit about that yesterday as well. Let me continue here a little bit. Don't remind me, though, Ally. So on the infrastructure, Ashworth continues to say this will require some adaptation this season, but all our teams, men's, women's, and academy, will maintain access to high-quality facilities with the promise of fully refreshed world-class site once the project is finished. So obviously, he's addressing the fact that the women's team has had to kind of move while the renovations are going on, and the men's team moved into their facilities. Ashworth says, delivering a successful women's team and a thriving, productive academy are both key objectives of my job, and I have a strong background in both areas. Women's football was an important part of my remit in past roles with Newcastle United and Brighton and Hove Albion and the FA. So again, go watch my video on Ashworth if you want to learn a little bit more about his career up until joining Manchester United, working with the FA, what he's been in charge of and everything. He was pretty much in charge of revamping the entire English FA football system. So go check that out too. He says it will be the same at Manchester United, the work I've done. Women's football is arguably the most exciting area of growth in our global game, and we want to be a part of that. I'm going to have to pull them up a little bit on these last issues when it comes to the women's team. Obviously, the women's team and the turnover and the way that they've been mistreated since they've pretty much been formed a few years back has been well documented in football news. They haven't really been treated all that well. We've seen, again, that high turnover rate. Great players have come and gone through the team that, players who really should have stayed and probably could have stayed and would have stayed had we had our crap together when it came to the women's team. Tobin Heath, Kristen Press, both really good players. Alessia Russo, Mary Earps, Katie Zellem, Lucia Garcia. All of them are gone. All of them gone for free. Not good. And so they've been forced out of their facilities while the men's facilities are renovated. And Ashworth kind of addressed that a little bit. Some of this isn't on Ineos, right? A lot of these, the way you remember, the women's team didn't really have facilities early, several years ago. They were forced to walk to go use like portable bathrooms and whatnot. Just completely mistreated. It felt to me at the time, and this isn't me disrespecting the women's game, it's just me kind of criticizing the way the Glazers went about this. They felt like it was, again, one of those things they just wanted to do for show to make themselves look good. Oh, look, we've got a women's team. Look, we're doing so well. We're up with it. We care. Like, it just doesn't. It never felt genuine to me, at least. But let me see here. So we had some player agents giving some comments here on some of the issues with the women's team as well. So on the women's team, this agent said when they compare their situation to their mates at Arsenal, Chelsea, and Manchester City, so their respective women's club, they realize how much they're being disregarded. The issues that were raised by players in 2021 are still a concern now. It's 3 years later. It is also extremely bad business to let so many contracts run down and to have a lack of clear communication, support, and negotiation structures. It was felt like the women's team is an area to cut costs instead of actually rewarding your top players. Again, the women's team completely disregarded. They won their FA Cup as well last season. They've been playing very, very well. I was some very high-profile players, and it's just nothing's really changed. There's also been a high turnover rate of coaching and sports science staff in the last year. There are red flags everywhere, like I said. And one employee associated with the women's team also said it's hard to not feel like an afterthought, not just behind the men, but the academy as well. So women's team not really feeling like they're getting the treatment they deserve, not just from their performances, but just for who they are. And like, I know the women's team isn't as large and is popular in a lot of the fan bases as the men's team. But I mean, I watched a lot of the women's games on Paramount this past season. I know Mark Skinner has come under some criticism, but in my opinion, if you're going to do something, do it, right? If you're going to have a women's team, like, do it. Obviously you don't need to build the women a whole separate 100,000 plus seat stadium, but treat them well. They have a good following. They're performing on the pitch. They have good players. We could have probably held on to a lot of these players had we just put a little bit more time and energy and money and focus on just that aspect of the club, along with the academy as well. We're doing really well in the academy in terms of bringing in players, but we need to improve it a little bit more, I think, the facilities. So maybe there's an opportunity if we end up building a new stadium to use Old Trafford as like a community stadium for both the academy, the women's team, whatever, hosting other events. But right now, I think the women need to have a show of good faith from the club. Getting pushed out of your facilities wasn't really a good look. high turnover rate, not a good look. All that is mentioned. So, and on the academy, so some news regarding the academy as we move on here. So Ethan Ennis, obviously that youngster who's been featuring a little bit in the preseason, he actually signed a new contract today with United. He was his old contract was going to run out, I think, in a year or so, and he signed a new one. So if you've watched a bit of preseason, I remember watching against Rosenborg. He came on, looked lively, was getting around the pitch. Obviously young, obviously preseason, so it's hard to give a fair assessment. But criticize all you want to when it comes to United, but the academy has been identifying and producing some solid talent in recent years. They've consistently been on point. So good to see Ennis renewing some contracts. Good to see Collier getting some minutes. Got a little bit of brief look at Amas. Ethan Wheatley looked lively as well. So we'll see. On Richard Rios, ally, I mean, the links that popped up this week obviously had a really good Copa America with Colombia. I mentioned, watching him play a little bit. He reminds me a little bit of Paul Pogba in the way he moves, the way he passes and things. Gives me Paul Pogba vibes. We'll see. Obviously, a lot of clubs are going to be interested in him. I think he has a release clause, which is substantial. I think it's like 100 million, 90 million release clause. And I think the reports were initially that Palmeiras were open to like a $20 million move, but now because they qualified for the Club World Cup and they're getting some influx of cash, they don't need to sell as much. So now Palmeiras are basically like, if you want him, pay the release clause. He's not worth the release clause. So I doubt that that's going to be a thing. It's good to see us looking around a little bit more, especially in that South American market, for some hidden gems and things. I wouldn't read too much into a Copa America performance personally. Like I said, and like Fergie used to say, you don't sign players based on international tournaments. Again, like what is the question I always ask when this topic gets brought up? Can anyone tell me where James Rodriguez is right now? No, you can't. So be wary of players who do really well in international tournaments, and especially when you've not really ever heard of them before. I'm going to leave the chat open for a little bit because that is it for the news. Let me just, while you guys get your thoughts in on everything, get your thoughts in on Sancho to PSG, get your thoughts in on Yusuf Fofana, Danny Olmo, Jeremy Frimpong, Zubamende, get your thoughts in. I'm going to check and see if any other news has popped up while I've been live, and then otherwise I'm going to let you guys get to it. Enjoy the rest of your days. Yeah, even like now it's coming out. Palmeiras won't negotiate with anyone who won't match Richard Rio's 90 million euro release clause. So I think that one's a kind of just done because no one needs to pay that. That's a lot for a player who's had one decent showing in a tournament. But anyway, I think that's going to do it. Thank you, everyone who stopped by today. Thank you, Ally, KD, Adebe. Good to see a new face. Good to see everybody stopping by today. Vibes. Good morning, man. If anything pops up for the rest of the week, it's only Tuesday. Obviously, we're still working on Ugarte, Dilit, Mazraoui, all that's popping up. Keep an eye on some of that. If any of that pops up, I will be back to give my thoughts and get yours. And Dean Smith, can you show me the back of your Manchester United shirt? There's nothing on the back of it, bro. It's blank. The only shirts that I have that have the name and number sets are ones that are like framed like these. I've got a Cantona one up here that you can't really see. I've got Scholes. I got a Beckham one over here. Michael Carrick, a lot of these guys. I've got framed ones kind of sitting. Oh, there's a Paul Scholes one sitting right here on the floor that's in a frame that I just haven't hung up yet. If you could see, maybe one of these days, maybe when I get some more people in the videos, when I do some more kind of interactive stuff and I move the camera, you'll get to see a little bit more. I've got you can't see it's off camera. I've got a jersey signed by Fergie over here in a frame. I've got a signed armband over here by a captain's armband that's Gary Pallister signed. Like it's not a flex. It's like I've said about the jerseys. Like I have way too many. It's just I get a little crazy sometimes. But yeah, the room is kind of mostly football books, frame stuff, memorabilia, and then a big box of kits like this one. But this is blank on the back, so it's you can't really see, but it's blank. So I don't tend to get the name and number sets on a lot of them, but now you can do what you got to do. KD, not sure we'll hijack Fofana from AC. He's the best all around amongst the options, but Ugarte is the most suited for what we need at this point in our development. Yeah, I think I agree in that. I think what we need right now is a bit more, not simply just physicality, because I think you need good physicality. Like McTominay has physicality, but he's like sloppy. He gives away a lot of fouls. What I want to see is physicality that is also shows initiative, shows just no hesitancy, someone who just reads a situation and just acts. So Ugarte has got that. He's got that Lisandro Martinez kind of personality. He just is going to get stuck in. He's going to take responsibility in these situations. He's not going to wait for someone else to do it. And I think I like that. It's physicality with initiative. And I think that he needs a fresh start. I think he's going to be eager to kind of just get back to work after he's kind of been frozen out a little bit at PSG. But I like Ugarte a lot. I've liked him for a while. I mentioned him a long time ago. I was super happy when we started getting linked with him again. Ally wants Alessia Russo's number. Sorry, but I can't help you there. She's probably got a UK number, which is about 800 digits. But that is going to do it for me. Javi says, I generally wanted Javi to replace Ten Hag. Did you really? You wanted Javi to replace Ten Hag? That's interesting. I did do a bunch of deep dive videos on some managers a while back that we were heavily linked with when Ten Hag's job was at risk. So if you want to go check out some of those, feel free to do so. But I think that's going to be it for me today, guys. Appreciate everybody stopping by. Good to see KD, Dean, Ally, Vibes, everybody, Adebe. Great to see everybody get involved. Like the video if you haven't yet. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. Go check me out on Twitter, MUFC versus everybody. And I will see you guys on the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk to you later.